Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Wednesday, 26th March 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Yet another U.S. tariff threat towards any country doing oil and gas business with Venezuela. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Any country doing business with Venezuela in the areas of oil and gas can see a 25% tariff imposed on them by the U.S. Keishan Haynes of CNC3 News tells us a little more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says any country that buys oil or gas from Venezuela will pay a 25% tariff on any trades made with the United States. Trump said in a Truth Social post, this secondary tariff will take effect on April 2nd. Trump said he's imposing the move because, as he said, Venezuela has sent tens of thousands of people to the United States who have a very violent nature. Now, we've reached out to Prime Minister Stuart Young and Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Amy Brown for comment, and we're waiting to hear back. They will travel to Jamaica on Wednesday for a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, along with CARICOM heads of government.
Meanwhile, London's Privy Council, the highest appeal court of Trinidad and Tobago, has ruled in favor of a former High Court judge.
The Privy Council has ruled in favor of former High Court Judge Marcia Ayers Caesar, dismissing an appeal by the Judicial and Legal Service Commission. It declares that her removal from office in April 2017 was unlawful. In a unanimous decision this morning, the law lords found that Ayers Caesar's resignation was coerced under the threat of disciplinary proceedings, violating her constitutional rights. The judgment said that JLSC brought about her resignation and that pressuring a judge to resign by holding out the threat of disciplinary proceedings circumvents the constitutional safeguards in Section 137 of the Constitution. They ruled that her resignation was not freely given, but resulted from undue pressure. As a result of the ruling, Ayers Caesar is entitled to compensation, though the exact amount will be determined by a High Court judge. While the ruling does not explicitly mandate reinstatement or back pay, it leaves open the possibility that compensation could include loss of earnings, pension entitlements, or other financial damages.
Barbados stands to reap significant economic and other benefits from the establishment of the Afrexim Bank Africa Trade Center in Barbados. Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley says the $360 million Barbados dollar investment will create jobs for Barbadians and create significant trade opportunities for the island. She was speaking during the groundbreaking ceremony at Gemmots Lane, St. Michael.
This clear offer of the government of Barbados to make available this just over 2 hectares of land to ensure that an investment that will bring jobs to the people of Barbados, that will bring foreign exchange to the people of Barbados, that will bring investment opportunities to the people of the region, because this is first and foremost also a trade center that you so accepted, recognizing that the history of the site and the location of the site carries with it so much more than we can ever contain in a speech from this platform.
And Prime Minister Motley says one of the major wins for Barbados is that the bank plans to inject $3.5 million into the government's Urban Transformation Fund, specially to be used in urban renewal in the immediate vicinity of the centre.
That will allow those who live in the shadows of this site to be able to have a better life for their families. urban transformation isn't only about buildings, but that is where it must start. The quality of housing, the quality of infrastructure, and above all else, working with the institutions of the city of Bridgetown in the environs of this community, the development of the spirit of the people and the opportunities for the people, for they must be pioneers in their own land and pioneers capable of embracing the global society.
President of the Board of Directors, Afrexim Bank, Professor Benedict Orama, says the project will create 1,000 direct and indirect jobs during construction. In addition, nearly 50 SMEs will be the subcontractors and suppliers of construction materials, services, labor, and other services. The project is also expected to create about 300 direct jobs during its operational phase. It is estimated the construction phase of the project will be completed by 2027.
More importantly, the Africa Trade Center Barbados would underpin the delivery of the bank's expanded ambitions in the CARICOM, as we aspire to rapidly build trade and investment bridges that will help heal old wounds and unleash an era of shared prosperity in Africa and the Caribbean. Given that we have expanded the credit limits available to the CARICOM to $2.5 billion from $1.5 billion, we look forward to a rapid growth in the bank's interventions all across the Caribbean. We also look forward to accelerating two-way trade flows between Africa and the Caribbean and unleashing the communications we all seek, the airlinks and the shipping lines.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Natasha Gray Brooks, political leader of the People's Action Movement, and deputy leader Azad Gums have criticized the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party-led government for not doing enough to stimulate the economy. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline reports.
At a recent press conference of the People's Action Movement, the speakers commented on several issues affecting citizens, business, and the overall economy.
The government is continuing to borrow in terms of deficits is increasing, but what do they have to show for the increased deficit? Going up from 60 to 68%, we have not seen any capital projects as yet implemented under this government, and as Dr. Richards indicated, housing is important. It has a trickle-down effect. I have walked through my constituency number 4. I have met with a number of business owners, and many of them are saying that the economy is slow, much slower than even during the period of COVID. And so many of them are not hopeful that the time under this Labour administration will be well spent for them, of course. For those in government who have increased their salary by 33% or more, they are comfortable. But the ordinary man, like myself and you, we still continue to struggle. And I also think that this administration, the Labour administration, is poorly fitted to serve the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Our CBI sales are down. Yes, they are increasing now. You find that the government has to do more to be able to diversify. We need to increase our exports. We need to look at different markets, manufacturing, financing, technology. We need to create niche markets to be able to help persons to delve into different sectors. And I know there are many persons who are trying to improve their businesses. Capital is a problem. We need to be able to help small businesses, medium-sized businesses in terms of accessing capital. That has been a problem for some persons. So they can't grow their business, they can't increase their staff. And these are things that we have to look into to be able to help our country, not just to diversify, but to be sustainable.
According to PAM, the government has failed to deliver effectively on their housing program and have not provided clear pathways for achieving the diversification of the economy. Glenn Batt reporting for SK Newsline.
The Caribbean Community CARICOM is making a major push towards regional integration, with all participating member states expected to fully implement the free movement of people by June this year. Ramon Gordon of CVM News reports.
CARICOM is moving full steam ahead toward implementing full free movement of people across the region by June 1, with private sector stakeholders meeting in Tobago for consultations on how best to position businesses for the change. Jamaicans, among other Caribbean nationals, will soon be able to live, work and move across participating states without a work permit as part of the long-anticipated expansion of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy CSME.
The free movement of persons will be a paradigm shift in the way our nationals access employment, expand business partnerships, and create entrepreneurial opportunities. The EU reported a 20% increase in productivity attributed directly to the free movement of workers, while the OECS, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, has experienced enhanced regional economic and functional cooperation, which has encouraged economic resilience.
She says the Twin Island Republic has already legislated all 12 categories of skilled workers, including teachers and nurses. Jamaican nationals, historically among the most mobile in the region, are expected to benefit significantly from the reform. Wayne McCook, Assistant Secretary General of CARICOM, called on regional businesses to seize the opportunity of an extended market.
The single market gives a Tobagonian business an extended opportunity to sell and produce for markets of millions across the region under preferred conditions. We have to make it the free movements within the single market truly free.
Ambassador Jennifer Merchant, Trinidad and Tobago's envoy to CARICOM, echoed the call for urgency.
The world has always been a harsh place for the small and vulnerable, and it is even more so now in the current turbulent geopolitical environment. We need, as a matter of urgency, the fullest possible flowering of the CSME, which will develop and sustain the inner economic dynamism that we need.
The forum highlighted ongoing work in areas such as transport connectivity, agricultural trade, mutual recognition of qualifications, and professional licensing. There were also renewed calls for harmonized tax and customs policies and the possibility of eventually adopting a single regional currency, a topic that remains under review. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Jamaica to continue cooperation with Cuba and its medical mission. TVJ's Anthony Lugg has more.
Caribbean prime ministers have been vocal about their position on the alleged exploitation of Cuban medical missions. In his 4-hour-long speech on Thursday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness did not address the issue, which public commentator Jermaine Barrett believes is critical in this time.
We did not get a strong and a defiant position from the Prime Minister. And I think the Prime Minister, of course, is a bit of a strategist. He's a pragmatist, and he's trying to work this thing through to Jamaica's benefit.
The government's position came on Thursday, but not from Prime Minister Holness. Instead, Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith.
Our structured process of review and engagement is progressing well, and we remain confident in the integrity of this program. We continue to engage diplomatically, including discussions which I held with the Cuban Foreign Minister, the current head of the U.S. Embassy, with whom both Minister Tufton and I and our teams met. And of course, as between CARICOM foreign ministers, as you would be aware, we have had discussions. We've exchanged perspectives, and we are seeking to ensure the best understanding and outcomes of this matter.
In a statement, Senator Johnson-Smith said a review of the program was initiated well before international scrutiny started. She insists improvements will be made to its administration.
Given that the MOU had expired last year, the government of Jamaica had already begun a review process, even before any international concerns were raised. So while we have identified a few areas for alignment with our own overseas labor programs and how they are administered, we are confident that the Cuban program is a legitimate bilateral cooperation program, not an example of trafficking.
Jamaica's medical cooperation program with Cuba has been in place since 1976 and has operated under a memorandum of understanding upheld by successive administrations. More than 400 Cuban nurses and doctors are working on the island. Anthony Lug, TVJ News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.